Okay, this will be short and sweet. This sets up the project that we're going to work on. This is value mini lesson number 3. Uh, if you go to Blackboard and you go to the assignments folder, you'll see a folder called Spatial Illusion. And this is a PDF that describes the project. So we're going to do equivocal space and we're going to do spatial illusion. So in this project, we're going to use overlapping shapes, and you're going to pick if you look at this, you're going to pick a typeface or a letter form, a symbol, and a shape of choice. And that shape may also be another type or another symbol. You're going to create the illusion of overlap by using median values. So we did that in our value scale project. You're going to use open form composition and extend the composition beyond the picture frame. Consider positive and negative shapes with equal importance. So if you look at my negative shape here that's created by this positive shape, that's just as important. And look at the balance of the positive and the negative. Um, that's been very carefully considered in this composition. It's going to be an 8 by 10, and it can be executed in acrylic on vellum Bristol board. And there's several ways to do this. One would be to just paint the whole thing. The other thing would be to do it in cut out pieces of Bristol, where maybe you'd cut out the sea and you'd cut out the boat, and then maybe paint the plus sign underneath. And then what you do is, I'll show you how to do this, you paint all the overlapping areas. All right. The other part we're going to do is illusion of space and depth. And the last mini lesson talked a lot about that. That's going to be 8 by 10. And again, we're going to work with probably 6 or 7 different shapes. They don't have to be exactly the same shape, but they should be related. So that when you do scale change, that works really well. So, maybe they're dogs, but they could be dogs in different positions. One could be standing, one could be sitting, one could be running. But don't do birds, dogs, and boats. Let's keep it kind of tight, and it should relate back to your equivocal space design. Um, so we've talked all about these. We're going to use diminishing scale, amplified scale, overlap, atmospheric perspective, and vertical orientation. You want to use a broad range of value from white or 10% black to 90 to 100% black. Use open form composition to create a sense of space extending beyond the picture frame. And then again, consider the positive and negative shapes with equal importance. Incorporate a minimum of 6 different sizes of the same shape. Again, this could be uh, a variety of that. So maybe I have 6 sailboats, but they're not all exactly the same sailboat. We're going to mount the finished product. They're going to be mounted on a 15 by 20 board. So it doesn't matter which side, but one is the spatial illusion is all going to be digital, and the equivocal space design is going to be hand painted. Okay. All right, so let's look at this. One of the things you're going to do is you're going to pick a symbol, a letter form, and a shape of choice. And that shape of choice could be another symbol or another letter form, which is fine. Think about how the 3 shapes work together conceptually. And if you look at this carefully, you can probably figure out what this means. I use the C to evoke something like a sun or a setting sun. The plus, why would I use the plus in relationship to the boat? It's a navigational tool. If you think about uh, north, south, east, or west and east, you think about that cardinal orientation, and then of course the boat. So there is a reason that I use those particular symbols. So you want to think about that. Uh, so the equivocal space is going to be hand painted, and the illusional space is going to be digital media. This is an example from several semesters ago. Yes, believe it or not, the one on the left is hand painted. He did a very careful job of this, and he's got, if you can see, it's the way the symbol works. It's the recycle symbol, and the way it works within the equivocal space, and this is why it's so good, is it goes back and forth between positive and negative. So it really does create this sense of ambiguous space. He then took his uh, recycle symbol and he broke it up, and you can see on the right very cleverly the way that he created that sense of moving in space. The arrows are kind of chasing each other's tails. This was done last semester by Casil Jimenez Sanchez, and so he took an image of Sade the singer, and you can see his letter form is an S, and then this kind of symbol for infinity. And if you look carefully, you can see how uh, the shapes overlap and create these median values. Um, Kind of clever the way he did this. And then uh, if you look on the right, this is all digital. This is pretty simple. I'm going to ask you to do multiples of these that you'll post in your journal. So you don't do just one. Um, and so I think the requirement is four. And then he just printed out the best one. This is an example by Emily Arnold using the cut paper method. So um, what she did was she cut out this E for elephant, and then the star, and then the elephant is actually painted on the ground, and then where they overlap, she painted, so she didn't have to paint every single part of the C. She just painted the parts where the overlapping shapes took place. So that might be, an option for those of you that don't want to do a lot of very meticulous painting. It still has to be done well enough that it creates the illusion. And then she did using digital media. Um, she just did. You can see there are different elephants. She's got one elephant that doesn't have its trunk up, and I believe this is the same one that's just been turned 180. So that's fine. It creates a little bit of variety without being exactly the same shape, but we do recognize them as elephants. And then here's the last example. So you can find silhouettes of just about anything on the internet, but one of the things you can do is you can create your own silhouettes in Photoshop. So what she did was this strange animal here was actually a three-dimensional sculpture. So she found the photograph, downloaded it, um, basically selected the background, deleted the background, and then that gave her a really nice outline that she could select the entire figure. And then there is a function within edit colors in Photoshop where you do fill, and basically the selection is filled by one value that you choose. So she filled it with black, and then she was able to make multiple shapes out of that. So that's kind of a creative way to get around just everybody using the same images. Um, and then you can see that so the letter form will probably create in Illustrator. We'll just use some of the many typefaces. This I symbol she probably found online. Although thinking back, I think she might have just created it in Illustrator. It's pretty simple to do. So you can do that. You could create your shapes in Illustrator if you wanted to. And so this is a nice solution. And this again is hand painted. It's beautifully done. So that's it. I will see you in class.